What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are back with some Detroit Lions news. That is right. We have some breaking Detroit Lions news before the legal tampering period begins in the NFL for free agency. So let's get it started. Welcome, everybody, to a video. Glad you guys are here. And I'm going to do my best to keep this thing short and sweet. We could talk about this more on our live stream that I'm planning to have in a little over an hour. So I got to kind of fly through this video just to get this update out there. But it is some good news, in my opinion, with the Detroit Lions before free agency really kind of begins in the NFL. And that is reportedly that the Detroit Lions are re-signing defensive tackle Isaiah Buggs to a 2-year, up to $6 million deal, according to Tom Pelissero. Now, we don't know the exact contract details, and we saw like last year, a lot of times these can be a little bit different than what they're originally reported, specifically with a guy like DJ Chark. You get a lot of different numbers thrown out there. But I'm assuming the 2 years is one thing that we know for sure. I don't know how the cap hits are set up. We'll know that a little bit later. There's probably some incentives in there, I would think, based on like playing time, something like that. But with that being said, this feels like a deal that was pretty well deserved for Isaiah Buggs. This past season, he had by far his most NFL experience with the Lions. He was kind of signed because, the Lions needed some girth before the season. They had some injuries, and we gave him a chance. And he really played well for us, specifically down the stretch. Really from about week 11 on, the second part of the season, he was really nice for the Lions. But really throughout the entire season, he took on a pretty big workload. Early in the year, he was playing upwards of 50 snaps a game. That part of the season, it was more between like 30 and 45. And I think that's the range that ideally you would like to keep him as. And that's one thing that we've talked about heading into this offseason that I would love to have him back, because I think he's a really nice backup, nose tackle / defensive tackle, because that's one thing that he also brought to the table was flexibility. When Aleem McNeil kind of became more of the 3 tech for the Lions, this was one of those guys that had to play multiple roles in this defense. And while going back to when he came out of the draft from Alabama, he didn't test out super athletically, you do see some of the quickness there, and I think it starts all with his hands. So I'm going to throw up a little page that we used back earlier. I'll throw that on the screen right now so you can see a little bit about what I had written for Isaiah Buggs, a 6'3", 295-pound defensive tackle. Played in 17 games for us this past season, which I think has to be given some credit, because again, it was like he was playing 5 snaps a game. This dude was taking on a little bit of workload now, okay? And on top of that, he started 13 of those games. He had by far his most productive season, which really just came from snaps alone, but 46 combined tackles, 11 pressures, 10 quarterback hits. You can see SIS has him with a little bit more than that. They have him 18 total pressures. And again, this is not the guy that you're kind of bringing back like that's the pass rush guy. Yet, according to PFF, he graded out almost a 67 in pass rush. And to me, the real reason why that showed up, and it started to show up especially, again, from like week 11 on, his pass rushing was really big time for the Lions, is because he wins quickly, right? He's not the guy that's going to give you a lot of different pass rush counters, walk back into the backfield, bull rush, that kind of thing. But he wins so quickly with his hands. The same way that he does against the run, he does against the pass. And I think specifically the way that he capped off the season at Green Bay, like in the goal line situation on, I think it was Green Bay's first drive, he had like 2 big time plays. That game, he was outstanding. He played so well in that game. Played a great game. By far his best game of the season, in my opinion. But it really showed like the growth that he was making, while at the same time it gave us some flexibility. You're going to have some limited athleticism here, but with that being said, he does bring good size. His quickness at his size is something that really stood out. So you can see on the right there, the biggest thing that I loved about him was his hand usage and his quickness against the run. Okay, it was kind of an underrated aspect of his game, but really that hand usage is to me what set up everything for Isaiah Buggs, whether that was playing the run or the pass. The quick sheds, the quick wins, and because of those quick wins, that's how we could create pressure on the pocket. It was either he's getting it right now, he may not get it as the play develops, because really once the play developed, if he didn't win as a pass rusher, he kind of just became like a contained guy in the middle, and that's kind of what his role just became at that point. But he could win quickly, and that's when you could get immediate pressure from that position for Isaiah Buggs, because he could win with his hands immediately off the line, especially if a line was like short setting on him. He could win quickly, then all of a sudden he's creating pressure immediately off the snap. And I think that's the same thing that showed up for him against the run as well. But with a guy at this size, you can see I put upper body strength, pass lane awareness, high energy. That's something that I want to hit on real quick, because it's probably my favorite part of Isaiah Buggs' game. Like, you can't watch this guy and not see him fired up, okay? I remember the great example, and I don't think I'll have the clip for it in this video necessarily, but I did in my earlier video, where we were playing Carolina. and there was just some sort of awareness there. I mean, he jumped the play, right? Shut it down in the backfield, and that was something that it seemed like as the game went on, he got kind of aware and kind of anticipated that was going to happen. He shut it down the backfield, lost of like 5 or 6 yards on an outside run. But with that, you always got the energy from Isaiah Buggs. Always. Even though he's taken a lot of snaps early in the season, and I think for him the ideal role is to kind of be your backup defensive tackle. You're like, hey, if that guy's got to start, we can win with that. There's no question we can win with that guy out there. But as a rotational guy where fatigue can kind of set in a little bit because he wins so quickly, that is like the perfect backup defensive tackle I think you can have. Plus, he gives you versatility. He's not going to be an elite pass rusher. He probably won't be an elite run defender either because there's still limitations here. He's got shorter arms, but that's fine for a defensive tackle. But shorter arms, still, I didn't think he was super stout at the point of attack against some like double team blocks. But with that being said, his ability to win quick could cause chaos in the backfield. And he has that grown man upper body strength to just control guys at the line of scrimmage. So you can see some of the knocks that I have there as well. Can give you flashes of pass rush, and I think especially when you're going to rotate defensive linemen, because as we always say, O-linemen don't rotate. They don't usually rotate. Defensive linemen do. So when you get a fresh defensive lineman in there, like an Isaiah Buggs, that can flash and splash, then all of a sudden you get a guy out there that is going to give you some of those splash plays, and he wins quickly against an offensive lineman that's been out there 5 plays already on that drive. Here comes Isaiah Buggs, bang, now I'm in the backfield and I made that one splash play. But again, he's going to be hungry to get on the field because he's still a very young player, and at the same time, that's just the kind of energy that he plays with. This is a great example to me of a guy that earned getting re-signed, and he definitely got that this offseason. So congratulations to Isaiah Buggs. Definitely well-deserved in my opinion. I'm super happy to have this guy back, and I believe, now these things haven't necessarily been reported, so I haven't really put it out there yet, but we'll talk about this in the live stream again. Feel free to check us out. We're going to be live here soon. However, I do believe he's joining a group of exclusive rights free agent re-signings. Okay, of course, we went out and signed Mac McCain from the Philadelphia Eagles at cornerback. We did a video on that. We also signed Ross Pierschbaker, almost said that wrong, the guard / center. We re-signed him. We did a video on that as well, tied with a couple of other things. And then also, according to Over the Cap, the Detroit Lions have placed tender on a whole bunch of exclusive rights free agents. And I think part of the reason that these aren't necessarily reported is because I don't want to say it's not a big deal, but because there's no guarantees to the deal, and it's not like, oh, his contract can be set up this way. Since you're just placing the tender and there's no guarantees on the contract and it's a league minimum, I could see why these things wouldn't get reported. But according to Over the Cap, the Detroit Lions have placed tender on, we know about Anthony Pittman, but also Benito Jones. Another one where it was like, you have to, because Benito in a different way is, for how big he is, almost 320, the explosiveness, he's another flash player. But again, there's no guarantees there, so if it doesn't work, you can cut it. Scott Daly, their long snapper, that just makes sense. Brock Wright, their tight end. Tom Kennedy, the receiver. And I believe also Darren Paulo falls into that as well. And also Shane Zylstra, the other tight end. So for me, those are no really surprises there. I would do it all the time, I think. Anybody that I liked a little bit, I would just do it because I can always cut them. But at the same time, I would like to have an opportunity to compete in the offseason, and we can hold up to 90 players in the offseason. But again, Isaiah Buggs, well-deserved. I love that it's a 2-year deal, especially at his age. Definitely gives the Lions some flexibility. And also, and if it is a 2-year deal, it also gives the Lions, I think, some confidence that you're going to have that piece there for the next 2 seasons. And it's not something they're necessarily going to have to worry about next year. And I'm sure it also probably works out financially. I wouldn't be surprised the Lions backloaded this a little bit to where next year the cap hit goes up a little bit because, again, we expect the cap number to continue to rise. So that could have also helped them for this season lower that cap number as well. But with that being said, well-deserved. I'm glad he's here with us, and he's going to be here for that Super Bowl run that we make. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. We're going to be live here soon. Thank you, Pride, for watching. Congratulations, Isaiah Buggs, and I'm out.